Hi everybody, welcome back to Small Caliber Arms Review. I'm Richard, and today we got us a box from Uberti. And this is a big old long box from Uberti too. Let's open it up and see what's inside it. Alright, inside the cardboard, underneath a little bit of this paperwork, and in this plastic bag is a Remington new model revolving carbine. Let's get it out of the plastic and take a closer peek at it. Alright, there it is. This is the Remington Revolving Carbine based on the new model Army. This was made around 1865, and Colt made a revolving carbine too, but Colt made theirs more for the war effort, trying to make sales to the U.S. Army. And Remington decided, you know what, we're going to go for a different route and we're going to hit the civilian market. So they marketed this as a hunting rifle. Now it's based on all the tooling and everything they already had for the 1858 of the new model Army. And all they had to do was modify the tang a little bit to be able to attach the buttstock on it. The buttstock was actually from, I think it was the Beals rifle, which was a single shot rifle. The frame and action and the cylinder and everything was already in production, so they didn't have to really modify a whole lot of stuff to be able to make this rifle. All they did was put a little bit longer barrel on it, and I think the loading arm is a little bit longer, but it operates the exact same way as the original new model Armies did. Now the buttstock on the end there, that may be just a little bit uncomfortable. It does fit my shoulder pretty well, so I don't think it'll be too bad, and probably not going to be a whole lot of recoil with this thing in black powder. But we're going to get it taken apart and we're going to inspect it a little bit and see how clean this one is as compared to the Pieta brass frame revolver I just did a video on. Let's take a closer look at it. Alright, now when you open this box up, one of the things you're going to notice in here is there's going to be one extra piece of paper. First thing though, we've got the instruction manual for black powder revolvers in there, and it's going to explain to you all the need to knows for black powder firearms, at least for this one. Safety manual, precautions, disclaimer of liability. It is going to have a loading chart in here based on the caliber of the firearm you're using. So this is a 44 caliber, so we're going to do standard charge on black powder is going to be 22 grains with a round ball, 19 grains with a conical. Maximum charge on this is going to be 30 grains and 25 with a conical, 30 grains for a round ball. We're going to be shooting round balls in it because I've got plenty of those. And then this other little piece of paper that's going to be in there is going to show you, and it's a really bad copy too, but it's going to show you how you should hold this rifle. Now, one of the things with this type of rifle, and this is one of the reasons that they're not that popular, is when you hold this, typically when you're going to hold a rifle, you're going to hold it like that. And that's not what you do with these. You actually have a little trigger, a little finger shelf right here on the bottom of the trigger guard, and you're going to hold this rifle more like this because you want to keep your hand away from the front of the cylinder on there. If you put it there and you did get a chain fire and one of these other cylinders went off, it's going to shoot you in the back of the hand. So keep your hand down here, your trigger finger, whichever hand you use. I'm right-handed, so I will hold it like that. I will put my left hand on that trigger right there, on that trigger shelf, finger shelf, grip shelf, whatever you want to call it, underneath the trigger guard. And I'm going to pull it toward my shoulder like that, so I could actually take my trigger finger, my hand, off of there, and it's holding it up against my shoulder. So that's the way you're going to hold this. The sights are going to be the same. It does have a rear buckhorn sight on it, which is adjustable for elevation. And there's a screw on there too. You can loosen up if you need to adjust it for windage. Same thing with the front sight on there. There's actually a little screw in the side there that locks it down into that dovetail. So if you need to adjust the windage on the front, you can loosen that screw and slide it side to side. It's a 18-inch barrel on this thing, so it's pretty long, but it should be pretty darn accurate. I know my regular, I think it's 8-inch, 1858 is really accurate, and this ought to be even more accurate with the longer barrel on it there. So that's the key thing you want to know, is keep your fingers out of behind the front of the cylinder. Keep everything behind it there. Even if you don't have a chain fire, you can get splash coming out of the side there at the forcing cone. There's a little gap there, so some lead shavings can come out and splatter all around there. And if you've got your arm there, it could be hitting you on the side of the arm. So keep your fingers and hands and everything behind the front of the cylinder. Aim it just like that and you're ready to go. Taking this out is a piece of cake. You got your loading ram on the front there. Just go ahead and drop that down, and then you've got your base pin. We'll go ahead and put it on half cock. You've got your base pin right there. You just pull that back, hold on to your cylinder, and you can't pull it all the way out. It is set in there with a screw to retain it, and then you can just roll your cylinder right out. So if you have multiple cylinders and you want to just get them loaded up and then swap them out, you can do that. Or if you want to put the cylinder conversion in there for your particular firearm, you can do that too. Now, one of the things I did notice about this is it is not nearly as dirty as the Pieta was. Of course, this isn't a brass frame, so it did not get polished like the brass frame revolver would have done. And then looking inside of it there, it's not that dirty at all. Now, I haven't cleaned this up any. There's a little bit in there. Not bad at all, though. Like I said, you don't have the polishing compound, so you don't have to worry about that much of it. We are going to get a look down the barrel, and we're definitely going to clean the barrel out before we shoot it. The rest of it, not too bad. I don't think there's going to be any junk down inside the action there, so I don't think we have to worry about that. It does feel like it functions really well, and it is going to be a little different than the Colt, being that this is a Remington, so your parts and pieces inside here will be slightly different. But I like these. I really do like the revolving carbines. I did the Heritage one, which is a knockoff of this, a more modern version, 22 caliber. To put your cylinder back in, sometimes this can be a little tricky because where your hand comes out there to advance the cylinder, when you pull this back to half cock, it is sticking out just enough to catch the ratchet mechanism on the back of the cylinder and makes it difficult to roll in there. If you've got it all the way back, it still protrudes just a hair, and then your bolt is going to be up too to lock your cylinder into position. What I have found though is that while you're putting it in, if you will pull the hammer back just enough for it to clear the opening there, it does make it a little easier to get in. A little easier to get in. But it is a very tight fit in there. And once you've got it locked into place there, you should be able to push your base pin all the way back in and then close your loading gate, and that'll hold the cylinder in position there. Go ahead and cock it, make sure that it is functioning properly. You got everything lined up, and it's ready to load and go. Okay, now I really loaded that one down with some frog lube, and you can see that patch is filthy. Let's turn around and run it back in the other way. Okay, so it's good and dry. Maybe not clean and dry, but for what we're going to be doing out there, this will be just fine. Okay, so I got the new model carbine all cleaned up and ready to go. I took a little compressed air and blew the cylinders out there just to make sure there was no crap in there. Now I am going to fire 6 percussion caps on there without any powder in them, just to make sure that it cleans the nipples out like you're supposed to, like they suggest you do anyways. And if I can get this thing in there right, there we go. Push that base pin back in, pull that up. Now I used Dustin's paper cartridge kit to make me some cartridges, and I'll put a link in the description below where you can go get the paper cartridge kit too. So I've got 6 of them here. These are 44 caliber round balls in the paper cartridges, and I'm going to these are loaded, each one is loaded just a little bit different, just to make sure that they would fit in the boxes and everything. But if you want to pick some of these boxes up too, these are sort of semi-period correct cartridge boxes. They are reusable since they don't have that tearaway strip on them or wire or string. So these are pretty handy little boxes there. Also, Dustin sells these on Guns of the West. And then I've got some of the Guns of the West bullet lube that I'm going to be putting on the outside. Once I put these in there, I'll probably put it on the outside of the bullets and then ram them down into there, and we'll see how this thing shoots. Let's get it out on the range. All right, everybody, we're out here at the saloon, and I got the Uberti 1858, or the New Model Army as it's more correctly referred to, but this is the revolving carbine, and we're going to go ahead and give this thing a couple shots. Now, the first thing we're going to do is I've got some number 1075 caps out here. We're going to put 6 of them on the nipples there and just fire 6 blank shots with it, and that's to clear out. And I did wash and kind of, dang it, scrub the cylinder up, and then I blew the nipples out with compressed air, and hopefully that did it. But just to make sure, we're going to go ahead and put the nipples on there. Now all you got to do is pull it back to half cock, and then you can reach in there and get the nipples on there. Now this is kind of a tight one to get in there and get the nipples on, but they should go on pretty easy. It's also a very difficult one to get a capper in there because there's just not enough room, and it's because of the cylinder. Now I have seen people take a Dremel and kind of take the nipples out and then open that up a little bit so you can get a capper in there. I'm not going to do that to this. The good thing though is these cylinders, if you get the black powder ones, they're fairly affordable and they're fairly plentiful too. They're out there. So if you wanted to get one and do that, go for it. If you didn't, just leave it like it is and put them on with your fingers. Okay, here's the paper cartridges. Now I heated up some of the Guns of the West bullet lube, and I went ahead and dipped the bullet down in there just to get a coating on the top of it there. And to get this thing loaded up, like I said, all you got to do is pull that ramrod down, pull it back to half cock, pull that rammer down on there, and you can go ahead and drop your first round right in the first chamber right there, and then roll it underneath there and take and push that down. Now a lot of that bullet lube is going to kind of squeeze out of there, but it'll seal that up some. Now Dustin's powder kit, his paper cartridge kit, is, they are 25 grains of black powder in there. Uberti recommends 30 grains max on this gun, and Dustin's kit is 25 grains. So it actually works out pretty good. I don't want to load it to the max. I don't think it needs loading to the max. And it's actually kind of fun, even if you don't load it to the max. You want to make sure they are all the way down in there. Okay, they're all seated in there. I'm going to get some of this excess off my fingers here, and then we'll get it capped up and give it a shot at the target. Okay, that was the last one. We're going to go ahead and let the hammer down between cylinders. And that's the safe position to carry it in. And I'm going to go ahead and give it 3 shots at the center target on there, and we'll see if these things go off. And like I said, hands behind the front of the cylinder. And we'll give it a try. That one failed to fire. We're going to give this a second though. All right, we skipped that one. We're going to do a 3rd shot up there. We're going to skip that one too. Okay, all 3 of them hit pretty much in the same spot. Unfortunately, not exactly where I was aiming. Let's go up there and take a peek at it real quick. Okay, obviously I was aiming for the center one, and all 3 of them hit in a nice little group there, a little bit low and to the right. Usually I'm low and to the left, but that's not terrible. I could adjust the sights on it because they are adjustable for elevation in the back there, and it's a pretty easy one. It's got the little ladder on it with the rear buckhorn sight. I'm going to leave it just like that. We're going to take the other 3 shots. We've got 1 that hasn't been hit, and I've got 2 that have been hit. We're going to take them at the 15-yard steel target. Okay, again, I apologize for the shadows, but my steel target is right there. These will be 15 yards away. And that one also did not go off. We're going to hold it right here for a few seconds just to make sure, but I didn't hear any pop, so I don't expect that it's a hang fire. So I'm going to rotate that cylinder around and get it right to where my next one is. And we'll try it again. That one did hit. And here's another one. That one also did not go off on the second hit. Now that could be a primer issue or a cap issue and not a, it's not a nipple issue, I don't think, unless that nipple is messed up a little bit. And we got one more here that did not go off earlier. We'll try it again. That one did go off. We'll get that one back around. And we'll see if it'll go off on the third hit. And it did. Now, it could also be that I did not push the nipple on far enough, and when it hit, instead of pinching that in there, it actually just pushed the nipple a little bit farther. Of course, I thought they were on all the way anyways. But the 15-yard steel target was pretty easy to hit. So we're going to take this thing, pull it back to half cock, roll it around a little bit, make sure all the little pieces of the nipple fell off of there. And one of the nice things about an 1858 is it's a little harder for the destroyed nipples, the used nipples, caps, I'm sorry, to fall down in the hammer slot. I'm not saying they can't, it's just a little more difficult for them to do it because the opening is a lot narrower than it is on, say, the 1851 or 1860 Navies. I think we're going to get this thing loaded up again, this time with just some loose powder, and maybe we'll go up to the rifle range, see if I can hit a 100-yard target. I've got GoX Triple F here, and I've had this for a while. If you've been looking for GoX, you'll know that it's been pretty hard to find anyways. Everything is cleared out of there. I have let it sit for a little bit just to make sure there was nothing, hopefully no burning embers in there. One of the things about these things is they really get smoked up, really get dirty. Of course, it's black powder, it's going to do that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set, and I should get all my charges equal this time because like I said, in the paper cartridges I made, I didn't get them quite right. So we're going to do 25 grains of black powder on here and pull the hammer back to half cock. That frees up the cylinder, and we'll go ahead and get the powder poured in the first one. Make sure you get it all out of there. Get one of these felt wads started down in the hole there, put the round ball on it, and look on the round ball. Sometimes they have like a little, it's where the sprue was, and I don't see it on these. So you want to set that right on top, roll that underneath your loading arm there, and go ahead and push it down in there. And that compressed in there pretty nicely. Now I'm not going to put any kind of lube over top of it. Like I said, they are a lubed ball, so they should be pretty good. Or lubed patch, I'm sorry. Get another 25 grains loaded up in there. And these are a little trickier to load, but like I said, Remington marketed these as a hunting rifle instead of a, like Colt was doing, trying to get a contract with the U.S. military to produce them. Which meant you could load this thing up before you went out of the house to go hunting. Now, a nice thing about these guns, if you are an Ohio resident, is they are legal for deer hunting in the state of Ohio during muzzleloading season. It meets the diameter requirement. And depending on how you load it, they are definitely capable of taking a deer. All right, that was the last one. Now I'm not going to put the caps on it right now and transport it up to the rifle range with caps on it. We'll go ahead and get loaded up and get up there, and then we'll take some shots. Okay, we've got it out here on the range. Now the lighting conditions out here are really tough to fight with. I've got my 6 caps laid out here, so I'm going to go ahead and get these things put on here. Like I said, they're a pain to put on. And we're going to take some shots just at the steel target up there at 100 yards because it's a little breezy out today, and I just really don't feel like putting a paper target up there and seeing if how I can do with open sights on this thing. I would imagine though, sighting it in at 50 yards would probably be a pretty good distance for it. And probably about the distance you want to use it for if you're going to deer hunt with it. And that was its main purpose when it was designed. So we're going to see if we can get these pushed all the way on. Not only are they tiny and hard to put on there, it's also pretty darn cold out today, and it's a little rough on the fingers to try to push them in there. A capping tool would definitely be a big plus, but like I said, the way these cylinders are designed for this gun, there's just not a lot of room in there to get a capping tool in it. So I think I've got them all on there. Now I'm not going to put them in the rest here. I'm going to just rest my arm on it and see how it does. We're going to give it some shots here though at the 100-yard steel target. That one didn't go off. All right, got a couple of them to find there now. And I can't tell where they're hitting at either, so I don't know if I'm shooting really high or really low. Looks like I'm going to have the same issue. Okay, that was all 6 of them. So I did not hear the steel ring one time. And like I said, I can't tell where I'm hitting to know where to adjust it at. The best thing to do would be to sight it in a little closer distance and then see what it does at further distances. But it's a pretty cool shooting gun. And like all smokeless, or I'm sorry, like all black powder firearms, they're pretty smoky anyways. Nice and warm. Now I'm going to get this thing back to the house and get it cleaned up. But I appreciate you taking a look at the Uberti New Model Army Revolving Carbine. Also can be, referred to as the 1858 new model. But anyways, pretty cool little gun. I do like revolving carbines. Anyways, if you could reach up here and hit this button to check out some of my other videos, and hit this one over here to subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks for taking a look at it with me.